Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for ICONversations. The ICON program is designed to celebrate our company's top producers. These agents here on the stage have gone far above capping status and are now earning back their paid company dollar with various stock grants, earned by reaching exceptional milestones. And today we have 5 amazing agents. From Minnesota, we have Joey Torque. From
Hey there,
Maryland,
Brian.
we
Thanks
have,
for having
hey,
me.
right on, Joey. You're the best. From Maryland, we have Gregory Cullison. From Michigan, we have Jason Matt. From Ontario, we have Michelle Kennelly. And from Texas, we have Tammy Pack. Tammy, take it away.
So excited to be here as always. I just love being part of these panels and hopefully bringing some value to you guys. I almost said use guys, and I'm even from the South. You guys, I know that you're going to get some great nuggets from these fantastic icon agents, and I'm so excited to share that with y'all. Let's start with letting each one of them tell a little bit about their business. Are they a solo agent? Are they a team member, a team leader? How long they've been in the business and where they're located. Let's start with you, Joe.
Awesome. Thanks, Tammy. Yeah, so I've been in the industry for 15 years, and I've actually only been with EXP for about 9 months. We were an independent broker for about 4 years. So my journey was kind of Berkshire Hathaway, Keller Williams, then went independent and decided to align ourselves with EXP, which we're really super excited about. It's been a kind of a crazy journey. Obviously kind of awesome. And to be honest, the icon thing, it's so cool. And I'm very humbled to be able to have gotten that. And yeah, so I'm just really excited to be here and share any value bombs that I have.
That's fantastic. Like how many agents are with your group?
Oh, okay. So we had when we left the brokerage, or I'm sorry, when we stopped being the independent broker, some people went to different brokers. And so right now there's 6 of us.
Okay, perfect. Kind of a SEAL team, kind of a lean and mean. That sounds great.
Yep.
Okay, Gregor, let's hear from you.
Sure. My name's Greg Cullison. I've been in real estate in one form or another basically since 1994. Started off with new homes, ended up working for NVR Inc., one of the larger builders on the East Coast. Was a sales rep, sales manager, general manager for that company. Left there and went to general brokerage about 9 years ago. And I've been with EXP now for about 4 years. In 2020, December 2020, we came over. I have a team. It's called CMD Home Group, and we have 8 active agents on the team.
Okay, fantastic. Let's talk to you, Jason from Michigan. Let's hear about you and your situation.
Yeah, this is Jason Matt. I'm from Michigan. I've been in real estate about 22 years now. Been with EXP for the last 3, which have been great. It's been super exciting and a pretty great adventure. I have a smaller team. There's myself. I do all the listings. I have 2 buyer's agents. I've got a director of operations that runs the whole office. I've got 1 virtual assistant that's in the Philippines, which is awesome. And then I have an ISA too that makes some calls for us. So that's kind of a little bit about me in a nutshell.
No, I love that. That's great. Michelle, have you gotten your audio taken care of? Can you introduce yourself?
Can you guys hear me?
You bet.
Oh, good. Okay, that worked. I think I was having internet issues or something. I am rural right now, so that's probably the case. Am I just introducing myself, Tammy?
Yeah, just give us the basics, like where you are, how long you've been in the business. Are you part of a team? Do you lead a team? All of that background.
Okay. Okay, so I am in Ontario. Obviously, the majority of people here are in the States. I am about a few hours outside of Toronto. That's kind of the benchmark where we are. I have a team. It is a small team. It's just me and 2 others, and we cover a good area. I've been in the business my whole life, but licensed for about 9 years. My dad is also a realtor, so I've grown up in it and done all the things since I was a little kid. So I've been immersed in it for a long time.
Well, that's fantastic. My name is Tammy Pack, and I have a team here in Fredericksburg, Texas. There's 21 of us on our team. We're a mega team with EXP. We started off in 2015 as an independent boutique brokerage, became number one in our MLS in 2018, 3 years later. And that same year, we joined EXP, and it's just been tremendous. We've never looked back. And so I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you guys. A couple of y'all gave a couple topics you thought we might be great to lead off with, and I think they're fantastic. Jason, I specifically loved your idea of talking about we're talking about all of us appear to have teams of various sizes, right? From 1 or 2 to 20 something. How do you find buyer agents for your team? Because there's a lot of people out there that whether they have a team or they're wanting to grow a team, it's definitely, I find that most agents have it at least on their long-term goals. So I'm very curious to hear do any of you have any suggestions or tactics? I'll kind of go first since I've got a fairly large team. We don't, it's funny. Our entire MLS in this small town is 300 people. So it's a little bit unique. But what's crazy is we are pretty much the highest price point in Texas. So we're very much a destination tourist town. We get 2 million tourists a year in a town of 11,000 people, 300 people in our MLS, many of whom live in Austin or San Antonio and just joined so they could get paid on a deal. So there's not even really 300. There's probably 100 agents in town that do at least 1 or 2 deals a year. So how do we get agents? How have we grown? And matter of fact, how did I have someone reaching out this morning? We're interviewing next week who just got her license. Well, it doesn't hurt being number one in terms of sales, right? And that's something you just get by sheer determination and hard work, if that's your goal. And I'm not saying it should be, because that's real hard to do with 2 or 3 people. And sometimes that's the smartest model, right? So just because we have 21 doesn't make us better. It makes us different. So once you decide you want to be number one and want to lead the pack in that way, then it does make some of the things easier. The biggest thing we do beyond that, we're incredibly active on social media. And since we're very active as a team, because you got to do 2 things. This is in real estate. If you're a solo or if you're a team leader, it doesn't matter. You got to do the right things and you got to let people know you're doing them. All right. So any good marketer knows I've got to take a listing. I've got to price it right. I've got to make it look good. I got to do all the things, but then I got to get the word out. Got to have a good product to sell, but people got to know I have the product. So we have weekly trainings. Monday morning is our sales meeting. Wednesday mornings, most people in town know because we post every time. Wednesday training, and they see our agents being trained in depth. We just did, and people in town are talking about it, a listings challenge. I realized our listing presentation was really not up to snuff. It was, but more importantly, the agents really weren't adopting it. We just assumed they were all doing it because that's what we kind of said over the years to do. And we find out that 2 agents really were using the listing presentation. So I said, okay, that's not on y'all. Everything as a leader is always on me. So the answer to that was, let's have a little presentation challenge, a good-natured contest where you got about 2 weeks, comp this property, we've created for each of you in the drive a presentation, bring it. We're going to give critiques, feedback, and we're going to give first, second, third, we're going to give prizes, places. And the biggest prize is the fact that you get to use it in your social media. So people in town have seen that we're doing this. Agents see that we're active, we're training, we're above and beyond on everything. They see us posting reels. They see us talking about our listings. They see us doing team retreats. They see us going on caravan because we post it. So people that are active go-getters and want to be part of something big will be attracted to that, and they reach out. So honestly, that has been our secret sauce for growing the team, is just trying to attract the kind of people we want. If people are afraid to be in an environment where they may be challenged and need to do a listing presentation in front of me and our sales manager, Catherine, then they're probably not our people, and they probably won't enjoy being here, right? So we do a lot of putting out there what we are, what we bring, and for us, that has worked well. Do any of you, who else out there has some thoughts or ideas, which of our panelists, about how to attract buyer's agents in this day and age?
You know what I was going to say, Tammy, since I was my question, and one of the things I've been trying lately, which it sounds like it should have been done a long time ago, is I've been actually focusing on, and it sounds easy, but like like with my sell a listing, like the buyer's agent that brings me the buyer. Because I'm beating my head against the wall where, like you said, we're trying to, like, find these agents. Where are they at? How do we find good agents? Are they going to be good? Can they, string two sentences together? Do they have a half a brain? But I've been focusing on recently, like, if I have a great buyer's agent on the other side of my transaction, and I don't know why I've never done this before, I just started recently, but just trying to engage them in the conversation, like, wow, you know what, this was a great transaction. You've really got a lot of things, you're well put together, hey, how are you doing where you are now? Or how do you like where you're at now? Or just kind of more like a curiosity question, like, hey, I'm not trying to, recruit, that nasty word, recruit. But I was just curious, have you ever thought about, maybe joining a larger team, or maybe how are you liking where you're at? And I've actually got quite a good response where I never thought I would ever ask somebody that I had a deal with, which I don't know why I wouldn't. It seems like it's an easier thing to do, but maybe it was just one of those things I thought was like taboo, or I didn't want to, come across that way. But I was surprised that I've got a really good response. And the nice thing I found by doing that is that when I'm talking to the people, I already know that they're good. Like, they already can, they write good offers. They know how to, handle clients. They're good with follow-up. And, it's just kind of starting that conversation with them and asking, if they're happy, and, if you ever considered something, and just, maybe start a little bit of a longer term. It's almost like, for me, I thought, a lot of people, like with recruiting or getting somebody, I think a lot of agents might have the common misconception of it's like it's an event. Like, hey, I'm going to post something today. I'm going to go look for a buyer's agent today, and I'm going to get one. Where it's almost, I found it's more of like, kind of like with a for sale by owner. They have to try it. You just kind of build a relationship. Hey, you're doing good. Whatever. It's a longer term sort of a thing, like where after, you build a little relationship, like you said, with your social media, they see what you do. You kind of come across as, helpful. But I know for me, I've been really focusing on, and it's been working, is just trying to look at the other agents that are bringing me buyers and that I've had deals with.
Oh, I love that idea. As a matter of fact, we do have an agent on our team that I did a deal with, and I was very, very impressed with her. She already knew about our team, but I think having done that deal gave her the confidence to reach out to me. And what's funny is, the further you go along this path, if you end up at the point where you're making a few waves, getting a bit of a reputation, we don't ever think anything about ourselves, right? We don't think we're all that. But for her to reach out, she goes, you don't know how scared I was to reach out. And she's a successful, good agent, smart. She goes, I was so scared to reach out that, that you wouldn't want me to be on the team, or that I wouldn't cut muster. And so we have to remember, we have to go above and beyond to make them feel comfortable. Another woman on our team, just love her, met her a few years ago, and she said, oh, maybe eventually I can be on the team. For years she didn't. And I thought, well, I guess she just got a bit, we assume, right? I was like, I guess she just got a better situation that worked for her, didn't really reach out. Then she starts showing up on Caravan, and we start being like, hey, why aren't you on our team? We thought you fit in great. And she goes, I just didn't think I'd fit in. So we forget sometimes that other agents look at us sometimes if we have some success. I looked at her, I said, if you were to put every absolute charm agent in a blender, you are what would pop out. You are the definition of an absolute charm agent. So remember, the fact that we don't realize how they're thinking about us, we have to overcome their limiting beliefs sometime, and be willing to take the risk and reach out, right? Who else has some thoughts on this?
Tammy, I have some thoughts on this, because we're actually, I think it's such a great topic, because with our journey, we've done a lot with the buyer agent and listing agent model. Back in the day, we were part of a big national expansion team within Keller Williams, and it was a great journey. But we're kind of in experimentation mode, meaning coming from that world, we're not 100% sure. I think that the model works. There's so many models that work. That's awesome. But when we actually moved to EXP and we were kind of looking at the team structures, we chose the self-organized team structure. We thought that was so cool that was offered within EXP. Like, oh, okay, it's kind of this loose kind of structure, and we're experimenting with that. I don't know exactly where it's going to land. We've been kind of 9 months into exploring this. I really like the some teams that we've talked to that uses more of like the showing assistant model now with apps like Showami and stuff like that. Like it's really cool to be able to give agents the ability to, you know, do that versus, you know, maybe the bigger splits with the buyer agent type of structure. And so I don't know where we land 100% on it, but what I do know is that it's cool that there's teams that do these different structures and make it work. It's so cool to like lean in and go, okay, well, what fits for you? What feels right for you for running your team? And if everyone on the team still sees value and everybody is, you know, following whatever the core values of the team are, then everything is sound. And one of the things we're really exploring is, can we have kind of a loose fitting, I don't want to say, you know, almost like no split type of contribution without condition type of team. That's what we're experimenting with right now. So it's not really necessarily an answer to like, hey, what do I think about the buyer agent model? Because I think it's great and I think it works for a lot of people. But I also have experienced teams that don't do that well, and that retention is a problem with those teams. And so I always think that, okay, that's something that you want to lean in and really do your own research on whether that's a model you either want to become a part of or have your team organized like that, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And, you know, interesting, we're using the term here, buyer's agent, but when we bring people on our team, they are from the get-go really allowed to do buyers or listings, which is fairly unusual. But whatever they're doing, if they're starting off with listings, we're so active in training and being here at the office. They have tons of support from the get-go and tons of supervision, sales manager, all of that. Being in a small town, you can imagine they come in with a sphere of influence, right? Town of 11,000 people. So that has worked fine with us. And they get to learn a lot about the buyer side also by being on the listing side. So Michelle, do any of you or Greg, any of y'all have any ideas on attracting any kind of agents to your team?
Yeah. So all the agents on my team had never sold a thing before they joined. I would do a little Facebook post about our team that we were looking to grow, we were willing to train, and it sort of spiraled from there. One came over, he had success. His friends said, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that," and then it grew from there. There was only one exception, and it was a buyer's agent that I had done a deal with, and I just casually mentioned to her that we were looking, and that if she ever had interest, to let me know, because I was impressed with her. She's a good agent. She wasn't incredibly experienced at the time, but I thought she was very professional, and she had a property management background. Took a little while, a couple months, and then eventually she reconnected, and it's been wonderful. But right now, I haven't been particularly focused on growing the team, but we do allow all of our agents to do both buyers and sellers, and we always have from Jump Street. We also let them close everything in their own name. They don't close it under my name. I know a lot of teams do that, but I want them to get recognition for their efforts in the industry. I think that's really important. We'll look to grow again when the time is right, but for right now, I want to make sure that I'm getting them as many opportunities as possible so that they can be successful, because opportunities have been a bit of a challenge for the last year.
You know, they have been a challenge, and you make a great point. For example, one young man came in, a new agent, and he wanted to be on the team. And I was like, I don't think you're a fit. And so then that gives you the opportunity to kind of use the fact that you're a new agent as the reason. But the one we're interviewing this next week has owned a business in the community, a well-known business for 20 something years. So the fact that she's going to come in with a good sphere of most likely being able to get her own deals going is very much instrumental in the fact that we were willing to consider that. How about you, Michelle? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Honestly, I'm just doing basically the same stuff as everybody else that everybody else just mentioned. It's having those conversations with agents that impress me when they're on the buying end of a deal that is my listing. Even if I'm on the buying end with a listing agent, I also have those conversations. But yeah, until you have those conversations with people, maybe have a coffee, meet up for a lunch or something, kind of feel their vibe out. Like, I'm very specific who I have come onto my team specifically, because we work just really as a collaboration, as opposed to a team where we all just kind of help each other in the daily activities and the larger scheme of things. You have to have the right vibe, right mindset, and we're pretty particular. So, in terms of people joining directly with us, that's a different case than actually just recruiting agents in general.
No, that is such a great point, and culture is everything. We completely hired a culture. The young man that wanted to join the team, very sweet person the other day, but I'm like, his personality and things are really kind of laid back, and I was like, we will bowl him over. I don't think he'll even enjoy being here, which does not mean we only have one personality type on our team, right? But making sure it's people that want to get along and enjoy one another's company and be a family is huge, because guess what? When there's bickering, guess who gets to deal with it? The team leader. So you got to be smart about that for sure. Joey, you just mentioned contribution without conditions, and we were also talking earlier about how that also applies to generating business, right? Because the number one thing agents want to know right now is, how do I get leads? How do I get business? And I know you had some thoughts on that, which is kind of giving without asking. And I'd love if you'd like to expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. It's so funny. I ran into on our little side conversation within Workplace, I ran into that quote years ago from Zig Ziglar of, if you want to get whatever you want in life, then help others get what they want. And it's just a philosophy that I think is so helpful for people, especially if they're starting out, or it could be really any time in your career, in real estate or any sales. There's a weird magic that happens when you look at every day that you're doing your lead generating efforts or prospecting or just interacting with the world, let's say. And it's like, if you look at it and go, all right, if I just figured out how to help others with the problems they have, with whatever solutions, totally could be non-real estate specific. I mean, an example could be, yeah, you call someone and it's a friend of yours and hey, how's everything going with your job? Oh, I just got laid off. Oh, well, what industry are you in? And maybe helping them network and connect with other people. Human beings just naturally, we've always have been reciprocal, but you don't need to keep track of it. That's where the weird, like, unknown magic comes in. Because sometimes the energy changes when you start helping people and then you're keeping track of it. It's like, hey, remember when I helped you? Like, it doesn't quite work like that. What it really means is, when you kind of live a philosophy or a value of contribution without condition, it means, all right, I'm just going to look at the interactions I have with other people and go, all right, I'm just going to try to hook as many people up and give as many people value and help them out, and then let it go. Now you can lightly do your own branding and make sure you wear your EXP hat or your shirt that says I'm a realtor or whatever. And I do think there's a difference between maybe how someone that's brand spanking new approaches this versus someone that's, I have to keep myself grounded. I've been in this for 15 years. So a lot of my network already knows I'm in real estate, but I do know that the magic of reciprocity, when you do help people at a high level, just kind of magically comes back to you, especially when you do it 10, 15, 20 times a day and you're just trying to help people out. So that's kind of where that philosophy comes. And I just think it's such a more fun way to run kind of a lead generating or prospecting habit.
I think that's fantastic. When you mentioned Zig Ziglar just now, I also thought of Gary Vaynerchuk, his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's like give, 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 give. You got to give so much more than you ask of people, right? So we put so much out there that, some of the agents, or my husband, who's on our team too, was like, I don't know, should you share it? Don't share that, or don't share this. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to share it all. I like Gary V's idea, which is give, give, give. And at one point, we asked him, we were in a round table with him and said, oh, because, that that one person, he goes, out of 100 people, one is going to do anything about if you give them your old playbook. They just won't get around to it. But you gave. And I said, well, and that one person will really appreciate you. He goes, more importantly than that, the one person was going to get it anyway. He said, winners are going to win. They'll just find it from somewhere else. So come from a place of contribution and good things will find you. I love that. Does anyone else have something to share on that topic?
Well, on the topic of lead generation, certainly we attack it from all angles. But for the better part of a year, we've had a proactive outbound approach, specifically going after listings. We've always been a pretty balanced team in the past, about 50% buyers, 50% listings, but we've really been looking to go after those even more. And when I say outbound approach, I'm talking all avenues, certainly social media, but even calling expireds, calling canceled, circle prospecting. When we've sold a home in the area, calling around that area, even mailers, looking for more and more listing opportunities, because we've really, here in Maryland, in the area we're at, we've really had an inventory challenge for quite a while now, and it's just gotten progressively worse.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, leads are the thing right now, right? How are y'all tracking your leads, by the way? I mean, do you have systems in place that make sure, it's one thing to go out and spend all this time, money, effort to get leads. What do we do to make sure we capitalize on the leads? Who has a system in place that they feel pretty good about?
Tammy, I want to touch on that quick. I just think it's so funny because lead generating is obviously, where things start, but really the gold is the follow-up. And I think we all know that it's such an elementary thing, but it's more complicated. It's kind of one of those, it's simple, it's not easy type of things, because generating the lead, awesome. Like, oh, someone's identified that they want to sell their house. Okay, cool. Like, obviously 90% of the time, unless they happen to call you and say, listen, I want to sell tomorrow, which you're like, yes, that's awesome. A lot of people with this decision, they're selling a month to 2 years down the road. And so it's like, you have to hit them however many times, however many touches. And so having a system, CRM, obviously provided by, EXP or any other broker, or just, if you have your own third party, and just making sure all of these leads go into a system with applicable reminders, right? To just reach out to them. And that's kind of just builds your daily habits, because as you start putting those leads in, you'll always have something to do. Yeah, day one, maybe you don't have anybody in there, but then as you're having conversations, oh, I had a conversation about this. They're having another kid and maybe they're going to run out of space. I better call them in 9 months or every 3 months, or that type of thing. I think just having a very simple, you don't have to overcomplicate it in the beginning. Yes, it's nice if you have a robust, drip campaign and all these things. Sometimes don't overcomplicate it. It's just like, get these leads in, these names or your sphere or whatever, and then just have an activity reminder to reach out to them, whether it's 1 week or 2 months after that, is really the most simple and most effective thing you really can do. Especially starting out, but anytime in your career.
Absolutely. There's nothing like follow-up, right? And we're not the best at it. And if we aren't careful, we'll start relying on our own minds. And my mind's like a sieve sometimes. It's got enough holes in it. Everything's going to fall out of my basket if I'm just relying on my own memory. So we absolutely have to have a system. Does anyone else have a particular system that is working well for them?
I mean, I say this to my team all the time. System is the system you're going to use. So even if, KV Core isn't your jam, use it. It is part of our fees. It's great. I think it's a great system. That's what I'm using. I've had my admin go in and put in, home anniversaries, birthday reminders, all those things that'll go out to my clients, which is great. but yeah, like I think Jason was talking about follow up. It's like that is the key component. So if you're not going to use the system and you're not going to follow up, then you're basically just throwing leads out the window. So getting those things established first and getting your systems in place before getting the leads in is ideally the way you have to run it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I know, like Michelle said too, it's follow up is the key because I mean, even like Tammy mentioned, we spend so much time financially, emotionally away from our families to get these leads. We're doing open houses, we're spending tons of money on all these different sources. And we get them. But I think the follow up is the key. So I know even like someone had mentioned, I don't know if it was Michelle or whatever, but whatever the best system to use, whether it's there's KV Core, there's Boomtown, Top Producer, we know all of them, but it's the one that you're going to use. And I think a lot of times, like even if you just use a pen and paper, or just simple, if you go to get a Google Calendar and just put on the calendar, hey, next Wednesday I've got to call Jim, next Thursday I'm calling Mike, next Saturday I got to call Tammy. It's not the best system, but just to have some system where, like Michelle or Tammy said, we don't want to rely on our minds because, in the moment we're like so excited. Oh, I just talked to this new client there. How could I forget? We hit it off and I won't forget. Of course, I'll remember that. Well, in a week from now, we don't know who it is. We forgot because the life happens, kids, family, 20 other deals are falling apart and going together. So it is important to just have some sort of a system, even if it's just as simple as, a paper and pencil or a calendar to know. I always tell my team, I say, you just have to know two things: is when to follow up with this person, because never hang up a call, never get off a phone call or a conversation without knowing, okay, am I calling this person back in 2 hours or in 2 weeks or in 2 days? And then knowing what to say to them. So I think that is part of the key, is just to use a system that you're going to work with and to always, have that future task assigned to when, you're going to get back to that lead. Because like we kind of circle back around, we spend so much time and money and everything to get these leads. And if we're not going to follow up with them with whatever system, you might as well just, throw it in the trash. So I think that's kind of the key too.
With lead follow up and staying on top of them to make sure they get to the closing table if you can. We all have a lot on our plates. Do any of you have anything that has worked well for you as far as delegating? What can you get off your plate so that those income generating activities can fill up your plate? We're looking at we've used virtual assistants in the past, but we haven't been of late because it really takes someone to manage them. But we're trying to put together a good system to hire and manage virtual Go Bethke. If y'all know her, she does an incredible job of presenting on this topic, and we're trying to implement her plan so that by having some virtuals, we can make sure that everyone that works on or for our team is used at the highest level. If any of you guys use virtuals or any other way that you're able to delegate lower tasks so that you can be on the revenue producing.
Tammy, I love the virtual assistant model. I think it's amazing. Such a cool opportunity. We have one right now. And, I think delegating some of those tasks as far as CRM management and email and newsletter and stuff like that, it's so huge because especially depending upon what your disc profile is, if you're a high I or something like that, it's just daunting to be like, oh, let me just get in KV Core and like design a email campaign or whatever. It's like, for me personally, I'm just like, I would never do it, or it would take me forever because I would just be dreading it. So having that virtual assistant can be such an economical way, obviously lead with revenue, but it can be a very economical way to really delegate and leverage your time to whatever your superpower is.
Well said.
I
Anyone
think that's
else
so
delegating?
ideal.
Yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, so I was writing up my own newsletters and sending them out, and then they were inconsistent, obviously, because time and life and all the things. So then I had my admin. I gave her some points, kind of cultivate something and send it to me. I'll look it over and then we'll put it into, or you will put it into KV Core and then send it out. Well, I found that it wasn't going to all the people, and then the format was weird and all the things. So I gave up on it completely because no one wants to see a crappy newsletter. So I stopped doing them for the past probably like 8 months, and it was bumming me out, honestly. So I found another EXP agent mentioned a company called Flowdesk, or a website called Flowdesk. And so I got on that. The easiest way to create newsletters ever. It's pretty incredible. Took me, I want to say, like 15 or 20 minutes, the last one I just sent out. But yeah, something like that where it's like so daunting that you don't want to go back and do it. So do, delegating the things that you aren't going to be consistent on, and then knowing when to lean on those people. So I lean on my admin for a lot of my paperwork stuff because holy cow, there's a lot. Sky Slope Police is on my back, and you guys probably relate. So I have her kind of on that stuff, constantly overlooking. I have the agents within my team help with showing sometimes. Even people who are not within my team or my downline, we have a showing fee structure. So we have it as like a pay per showing and pay per inspection, pay for whatever. And we have that breakdown. So we just kind of click it off and we say, like, for showings of this house, hit this house, or inspection of this house. And then we kind of, delegate that way, but it's pay per use kind of thing. But it's super helpful when you don't necessarily have to drive out of area, for a home inspection or a showing, when you can be doing higher leverage activities like meeting with sellers or having a buyer meeting, or some of the other high leverage activities that we do.
No, that's fantastic. Those are all great tips for leveraging our time, as you say. My guess is a lot of the agents watching this are probably thinking, the one thing I really want to know is I want to be an Icon agent if they aren't already. And they may be thinking, give me one thing. What is the one thing that helped you have the success you've had in your career to be able to be an EXP Icon agent? Let's start with you, Joey.
Yeah, I think it's, and again, I think it's such a simple thing in the sense of I've kind of identified what I value and what brings me fulfillment in kind of my day to day, and just lean in on that superpower. And I know that I don't mean to be vague there, but I know in any sales job, it's just a contact sport, right? And it's just making the contacts, talking to people. It's kind of the old proverbial, like, don't be a secret agent. I mean, you cannot be in real estate sales or any sales and people don't know it's what you do. Like, it's pretty simple, right? Like, even if you just added 1, 2, 3 people to your database every day, and you just talk to them about, you made it that simple of a goal. Like, think about that. If you talk to 3 people about real estate every day, and that's 1,000 people or whatever in your first year, you will get business from that. People will, oh yeah, I'm looking to move, So it's like, I think the biggest thing is just realizing that early on in my career, a mentor of mine told me about that. Like, this is a contact sport. Like, you just gotta, there's skills and there's a journey there. There's a spiritual journey there as far as kind of maybe getting out of your comfort zone. But just letting people know this is what you do, and adding value to your peeps and just helping them because they'll want to help you in return. So that's probably been the biggest thing that's helping in my success.
How about you, Greg?
So when I came over to general brokerage, and this was, even before I joined EXP, because I was with another brokerage prior to that, I had come from a new home sales career where I was a pretty highly compensated leader in that profit center. So it was quite a risk making that move. I needed to jumpstart things right away. I did not have time to just cultivate, just work the spear, just add the 3, and maybe a year later they buy. So I went full bore in at that time with paying different places for leads. Zillow, Realtor.com were really the 2 that I heavily leaned on. And that worked for me. I started off as a solo agent. Within a year, I was the highest producing agent in that brokerage, and that brokerage was one of the top brokerages in our area. And I just used all of the things that I had taught my new home salespeople for years about selling, uncover the dominant buying motive, how to overcome objections, things like that. And as has been said here multiple times by a number of folks, you got to follow up. You talk to them one time, it's not going to work. Now, that I did that because I was confident in my ability to convert those online leads, and also because I needed to jumpstart income right away. We still use those sources here on our team, but over time, as what happens, we also get a lot of repeat referral. Frankly, about 50% of our business is repeat referral business now. And we get that through, staying in contact, newsletters, client events, etc. Just good old fashioned customer service from Jump Street. But I would focus on whatever activities produce results. And what I mean by that is, if it's not making me a sale, I don't want to be doing it. If it's not going to lead to a sale. So things that I could take off my plate, give to my transaction coordinator, a virtual assistant, whatever it is, I would do that, and then be productive every day. I think it's mindset for me. I wake up every day realizing no one's paying me to be here, so I better make some money. I better be productive.
Yeah, that's very well said. Jason, what would you say your secret sauce has been to becoming an Icon agent?
I think for me, I mean, I'm a huge guy in follow-up, so I can talk about follow-up all day long. But I think for someone that's maybe looking to become an Icon agent, just from conversations and, talks I've had in the past, I think, I tell a lot of people, it's like, don't overthink it, or maybe be intimidated, because I think a lot of times, like, you talk to, obviously, like even you, Tammy, or, like Joseph and Michelle and all of us, but, a lot of us think like, oh my gosh, I could never have a team of 10 agents, or, where do I even start? It's almost like they get, kind of paralysis by analysis, where I always say, just don't compare yourself to anybody else. And like we were saying before, is just do something every day. Just do, if you met one new person, or even if you make one phone call a day, I know for some, for us, it might not, be very, productive, but for someone who's trying, one or two things they do a day are much better than zero. And I see a lot of agents, they're just either overwhelmed, they're intimidated, they're comparing us. Like you mentioned, Gogo, like even me, I look at Gogo, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I could never be like her. She's got a international business with a bazillion different people on her team. And I'm like, screw it. I'm just not even going to try, because I could never do that. But on a smaller scale, I think a lot of newer agents maybe feel that way about, us, where I'm like, if they really knew, like, I'm guessing if they pulled back the curtains on our teams, yeah, we're successful. We kind of have a few things going on, but we also struggle and fumble and bumble. And I forget to call leads. I literally, like, my thing, I had a listing appointment for an $800,000 listing last week. I literally forgot to go on. I mean, it happens to all of us. I mean, life happens. So I just think, for a lot of agents, it's kind of just don't get paralysis by analysis. And you know what? Just don't compare yourself to anybody else, and just do something every day. Start small, start slow. And I mean, I always say, if you work hard every single day, good things will happen.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like to tell my team, nothing's worse than paralysis by analysis. If you're concerned, if you're feeling stressed, which is all very common in a market like this, if you're feeling anxious, the best thing you can do is get up and do something about it. We like to use the phrase, work, don't worry. So when you find yourself worried, say, is there something productive I could do? Could I get up and write 5 handwritten notes? Could I print off a Zestimate and mail it to 5 different people and say, would you like to know the real value of your home? What could I do that because what alleviates the discomfort that a lot of agents are going to feel in a market like this is taking some action. That's what you're supposed to be doing, is getting something done. So remember, work, don't worry, and you'll feel better and be more productive as well. What about you, Michelle? What would you attribute your success?
Probably a mix of things, but for me, it's just being genuinely me. running, my business the way I would run it with a family member. Um, Always putting people's needs first is truly how I run everything and going above and beyond. Um, Obviously, there's a financial component there, so I do bust my butt. I work really hard to follow up with leads and to make stuff happen, of course. But when I first got into real estate, that was my key thing. It's like I'm having conversations with people. I'm being genuine. I'm being honest. I'm being the way that I am. I'm a pretty open book. If you meet me in person, I probably don't stop talking to a fault. But I do take the time to listen to people and listen to their needs and kind of figure out what they need and how I can help them. So just really, really getting down to the basics of just being a human and being connecting with the people that you're working with on a daily basis, whether it's your sellers or your agents that you work with regularly. And I think it just takes the mindset. Honestly, having that grit, having that drive. If you don't have it and you don't set your goals to hit icon, I don't know that I would hit it. I think I would just say, oh, okay, I just want to do 10 deals this year. That's not for me. That might be for some agents, but that's just not for me. My goal is to hit icon every year. This is my fourth year hitting it, my fourth year with the company. That's a huge goal for me. And especially when it does have awesome monetary benefits with becoming icon, but also I get to do stuff like this where I can give back and help other agents thrive and maybe get to icon too. So a mix of all the things, but um, there you have it. And someone in the chat actually brought up, besides being great at sales and follow up, how did you get to be as knowledgeable um, as you are about your markets to gain the trust with or of leads you keep in touch with. Honestly, people ask me this all the time. It's like I know the numbers, I know what's going on in the market. I sit on the Economic Development Coalition for my area. I know what's going on in a larger scheme of things with the economic development, economics in general, who's moving into town, who's moving out. So just being super in the know, joining, those committees, joining, groups that you're going to really be in the know about, and then obviously knowing your real estate numbers, knowing average sale price, knowing average days on market, knowing neighboring markets, what if you're going to a listing appointment and the house two doors down just sold, you should know those numbers before you head to that listing appointment. So those are all my points for you, Sheila. I hope that helped.
Yeah, it's one of those things, where you're so right. We spend a lot of time on our team running numbers. At least we try to take at least one of our Wednesday trainings a month to do market stats. And then we post them up on the wall and we try to and we try not to do so many that we can't remember any of them, right? If you run every report, that's great to have the full report and have it printed somewhere where you could look at it. But at least you want to know things like your average sales price, average days on the market, average price per square foot. You want to have those where you can memorize them and they're not too complicated. This last week, we were thinking, everybody in an expensive interest rate environment wants to say, but can I get a cash buyer? And we're like, yeah, and we get quite a few of those, but what's the number? What would we need to do? Some of you probably have much more advanced MLS systems than our little small town does. Ours is pretty old school. But I said, let's run a report. We sell a lot of short-term rentals. Let's run a report of all the short-term rentals sold in 2024. And each one, there'll probably be, I think there's 45 or 50. Each one of those, go in and see which were cash and which were loan. And then we said, but put the sales price, because we want to know, is 500,000 and under 85% loan, and maybe over 500,000, you get up to 50-50 cash loan, those kind of stats. And then when you share them with the world, don't just have the stat and sit back and wait to be asked. Get on social media, get in your email marketing if you have an email campaign set up, and share your expertise and let them know that you're the go-to. I just appreciate all you guys so much. And Brian, I think we're probably just about out of time, but I just appreciate all of you bringing your knowledge and expertise to share with these wonderful EXP agents.
And I want to thank all of you for joining the panel today. It's amazing. Tammy, as always, all of you, thank you so much. Some of you, I will see you next week. Tammy, I won't be seeing you next week, but I wish you the best in everything you do. Always reach out to me. And if you are watching this on YouTube,